Welcome to this video on using pass, continue and break in your programs. My name's Andy Wicks and I'm a big fan of Guido van Rossum. I think the ideas that he had here are excellent and they're not available in other languages. Some of them aren't. Let me start at the beginning with pass. Most people think that you program by writing the code. You start at the beginning and you work through to the end. No programmer does that. That way lies insanity. What you do is you work through the code a bit at a time and you get the logic right. Once you've got the logic more or less right, then you can worry about getting the detail in there. And pass is a command that I haven't seen in any other language. It's a brilliant way of saying, I'm going to put some code here. I don't know what it is yet. I'm not particularly bothered. But I will be putting something here. So when you get to this code, just skip over it for the moment. Now that sounds silly, getting a computer program to skip over things. But if you want to test your logic, using pass gives you the ability to put, I know I need a for loop here into your program without having to code the for loop. So let's see what happens when we run this. This is a for loop, the same as any other for loop. It finds the range between 3 and 6. Remember that top number is always one less. So it finds the numbers between 3 and 6 and it goes through those numbers one at a time, finding x. Except in this case, it doesn't. That pass allows us to say, I know I need to go through 3 to 7, but let's see what happens with the logic later. I'm more interested in carrying on with the rest of the program. And in that way, it bypasses the for loop and doesn't cause you an error or output that you don't want yet. So let's have a look now at continue. Here we're going to work through exactly the same loop where the range is between 3 and 6. But if the value of x is 5, continue. In other words, skip the print statement that's underneath. But you only skip it if x is 5. Don't forget double equals is a comparison. So what we have here is for x in range 3 to 7, in other words the numbers 3 to 6, it's going to print out the value of x, except for 5. So let's see that working. And as you can see, what we get is 346. And that is exactly what continue does. It allows us to make an exception within a list of whatever it is. So now we'll go on to the final command that's used in this sort of situation, break. We have the same for loop and if as we had in the previous example. However, this time the command is break if x is equal to 5. And what that does is it stops the whole loop. So it doesn't just skip the current item, the current value of x, the whole for loop is terminated. You might have that in situations where you are in a potentially endless loop and you want to break when some condition is true. In other words, when the user gets fed up or the value goes over 999. So let's see what happens when I run this small piece of code. We only get 3 and 4. In other words, it's got to 5 and said, right, this is 5, I'm going to break. So it never prints 5 and it doesn't print 6 either because it's come out of the loop. So what we've got are 3 tools that we can use. Pass, where we're wanting to code some logic, but we don't want to write the code yet. Continue, where we have exceptions. Do this for a range of things, but not for this one. And break, where we need to terminate a loop or a condition depending on a particular value.